they will have 13 points and CDEC has 12, which means CDEC have to 2-0, because if they draw, they lose on heads-up, and that would mean EG would still take the first place. So it forces them into a position where they have to 2-0, and they have to do it right after coming from a loss, which is even better, I think, for EG. So
yeah, and
they have something to play
and we
for
talked about how that could be a big difference for EG. Maybe you just don't want to play against Cloud9. You want to have that choice, playing against Complexity, rather than leaving that up into CDEC's hands once we go into that bracket stage. So EG is still going to put a lot of emphasis, hopefully, onto Game 2, and CDEC at the same time. You want to secure that first place spot just here and there. You don't want to have to wait until the next match and go in with an unknown, knowing that your fate and your kind of rival's fate is decided by your next match. We do have a quick update. It sounds like MVP Hot 6 has won their first game out of 4 today, so the dream is still alive for MVP Hot 6. These updates coming in, they're very exciting.
The last 3 days, they were just pretending.
They've had a rough run in the last 3 days.
It's been weird, right? Because I think it was on day 1, or after day 1, or very early in day 2, I said the MVP team that has the highest chance of making top 8 is Hot 6.
Yeah.
Because they actually played really well on day 1, but they lost most of their games. And then it just seemed like the way they analyzed their games and the way they tried to adapt just totally didn't work. Like, they picked way too much early game. They didn't have mechanics or built-in things in their draft to end the games, whereas MVP Phoenix just did a better job with that. But maybe they're back on track now.
We'll find out by the end of the day. The draft for Game 2 on our stream is ready. Again, it is CDEC versus EG. EG trying to keep the hope alive, or the chance alive, of being first in Group B, and CDEC just trying to secure it right here and now. And the first band's going through. The Let's see, you're going to be banned out by EG in the first phase.
Blue Pony Man is still there.
Yep.
Blue Pony Man is still there.
This is interesting. Like,
we
owned your Bloodseeker last game. It was too easy. We won't give it to you again.
I love just making up more reasons and logic behind EG's drafts.
I really don't know what the idea is behind this. Maybe it's just to set it for the Queen of Pain. Maybe they don't like playing against Bloodseeker with Quab. Although, as we've talked about previously, if you do max range blink and move very quickly, you don't take rupture damage.
Bloodseeker can actually win versus Quab in lane. I think versus Lina it's much more difficult because she has like significantly better burst as well as longer range. But with versus Queen of Pain, all you need to do is just outlast it during the poison, which is pretty easy because Quab's not going to blink on you that early.
Now, CDEC, is Tusk a concern here? Do you take it away? Is CDEC confident in them picking the Tusk over EG?
I really like how they played with a Shaker last game. Yeah. I think that's really good for them. Tusk, well, the thing about the Tusk is you don't have to waste a ban on techies later, because if you don't take it now, it's very likely that Evil Genius is going to take it, and then you have to waste another ban in the future. So it's definitely more their style for the Tusk Undying.
Back to CDEC basics. This
That's
is
true.
what they played in the wild card. I think
true.
so. What was it? They played like Tusk Undying, and we were criticizing them for using it too much, the Undying and the aggressive dual lane, and they started teams started figuring them out and countering it.
Right.
But now that they lost the first game against EG, they do go back to their core strategy, if you will, of even the Chinese qualifiers. They also played aggressive dual lane Undying with Dazzle, I think, mostly in that tournament.
EG get the DAC duo, Queen of Pain, Shadow Fiend.
Yeah. And, I mean, generally we've seen kind of teams being 50-50 on whether you really prioritize that SF or not on Radiant, but if you can secure both of those, doesn't sound like a bad idea at all.
Now they just need some way to back them up a bit, whether it be a Dazzle or the Earthshaker. If it somehow makes it through this ban phase, I'm sure that'd be ideal for EG.
That's the thing CDEC can do now, is that EG have just picked 2 cores into Tusk Undying, so now they can ban really strong lane supports and just look to abuse this to the maximum potential.
I mean, they can just safe lane Quab though. I don't think Tusk Undying can really take advantage of that at all.
That's true. I guess. So how does Undying match up 1-on-1 against Quab if they want to roam the Tusk? I guess he loses, but doesn't get destroyed. So that's a possibility. Like, if EG don't get their key defensive supports, of course, PPD has a big array of them, but there are just some of them that seem just flat out better in this metagame. I guess Dazzle is the one to highlight, and maybe they can roam the Tusk on mid. There's the first defensive support ban, the Earthshaker.
Still a Dazzle and a Wyvern.
Yes.
That would have to be taken out of.
Yeah.
Wyvern is great so far. Good
Wyvern's great, but hasn't shown great results at TI, believe it or not. Almost pretty overpicked here. I have the stats. I don't want to reach and look at, but it's pretty abysmal. I want to say about a 23% win rate right now.
I mean, that's much lower than I thought it would be.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
Dazzle's great though, 53%. So I mean,
Yeah, Dazzle's definitely been on the rise. Pretty decent. I mean, anything over 50% is going to be hard to keep up.
CDEX on Dire again. I still think TA is very nice for them. It's like it's one of those heroes that you can just like snowball in with and immediately cause a lot of havoc. And it's very difficult to focus down, especially with heroes like Shadow, Fiend, and Queen of Pain who don't do that many instances of damage really quickly. Also, again, they're on Dire. They need to do Roche. They need to prevent EG from getting it just because they're really, really good at sneaking it in, 5-man smoking, whatever it may be, to secure that.
Gonna ban the Viper away from Shiki, giving their Quap a better matchup, or their Shadow Fiend. It's just keeping their options open, I guess, for how they want to put their lanes. They don't want to end up in a situation where no matter which of their heroes they put mid, it loses.
Right.
So it's a solid ban. I think also, again, for the 10th time this tournament, Undying Viper just seems like a good combination of heroes. It's a mech carrier, it's an early pressure team fighter, you go take towers.
We haven't seen much Viper. I think he was like really popular the first day, and then
Yes.
none.
I think he did fine.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I agree.
Secret were good with it. I can't remember if we saw Cloud9. Cloud9 lost with it today against Complexity, actually. So there was at least one pick of it today.
As far as the rest of CDEX lineup goes, like they can go the typical like Tusk Undying and try and take down all your towers early, but at the same time, Evil Geniuses, as we saw, I think in the second game against MVP Hot 6, they just play keep away, outfarm your entire map, and then just crush you with like a 10, 15,000 gold lead. So I'm hesitant to say that it will be super successful. I think they have to commit very heavily to it, like sort of how Newbie does it, with a Dragon Knight, someone that can force towers down immediately.
Is this the first second phase Gyro pick we've had this tournament? It feels like it's very rare.
I was pretty surprised CDEC didn't go for it again, and then when they didn't, I'm like, maybe last game kind of got to him, and they're like, well, we'll pass over it, but maybe it's too tempting now. It's still out there on the field.
Yeah, it is surprising that it went through all the way. I mean, CDEC also spent a lot of time during that ban phase trying to decide what else he wanted to ban. The Brood was there.
The Brood, so that does leave the Dazzle. They want to pick it up here, or an Aoi hero. Do you consider going more split push heavy if you know that CDEC already you're going to be pretty team fight, push down your lanes, be a demolition squad? Do you try to split them apart?
Generally, I think that's the solution for EG, yeah.
I think a pick they could consider here would be Lycan, and then they probably shouldn't pick it right now, but they could save it for 5th, and then start looking for the supports and consider putting the Quap on Universe this game in the offlane, just because Lycan is a great hero for Fear. It's a hero that pushes so fast that the timing windows CDEC have to start pressuring towers are really small. In addition to that, when he is in wolf form, he's actually as fast as Tusk, as the only hero in the game. I think they have the same move speed. It's like 650.
The problem with that is that we said that Tusk Undying is going to be putting a lot of pressure on there, and if they ban out a lot of the good defensive lane supports like Earthshaker, then Lycan's going to have a very, very difficult time.
The alternative is to okay, they're going to pick a defensive support, because the alternative would be to pick supports that could actually fight in that lane. Potentially, but I could see that being too difficult.
I mean, with the Dazzle, though, I think now it's possible.
They could, because you can heal the wolves. It's a decent physical damage bomb, if you will.
Now, for CDEC, what are they looking for here to round things out?
Shadow Shaman. Totally go all in with the bush.
I mean, we've seen
Shadow Shaman Park.
Yeah, we've seen it picked up a couple times for that purpose. Not always to great success.
Disruptor is actually banned first phase by EG a few times.
Oh, yeah.
Against Empire and...
I think against Empire, and it was when they first picked Queen of Pain. So I'm not sure if they didn't expect CDEC to pick it, and I'm not exactly sure in the circumstances that CDEC want this hero. Sometimes it's seen as a counter to Shallow Grave. You just understrike the target, and then once it gets really, really low in grade, you just glimpse it back for easy finisher. But that's way easier said than done.
You know what's a great counter to Shallow Grave that we saw today, really successfully, was the Silencer of Newbie. That was really cool to see how they... That seemed like, to me, in that game, it seemed like it was specifically tailored to counter the Dazzle of Vici Gaming. They engage with Dragon Knight, it starts the fight off, they go on the target, and they global.
And
okay.
look,
PPD, I
don't think they're going to pick it if there's no Tusk.
Well, he says he doesn't pick
Never
stuff
mind.
like that twice, and then he picks.
Well,
no Tusk necessary.
it's,
A la carte
yeah.
tech.
It destroys the Tombstone with landmines. is pretty fast at pushing, and more than anything, it might make C-Deck think twice about pushing towers. Because if he puts mines in odd spots and just generally just slows them down, if nothing else, if they have to advance slowly into the tower pushes, could buy enough time for the last hero.
I mean, how does it really tie in?
Techies, though. I don't think it's an off lane for Universe.
So how does it tie in with the rest of the lineup here for EG? Or is there some way to tie it all together with the 5th pick?
It's more just delay C-Deck because they're going to be hesitant to walk around your side of the map, and that's really what you don't want them to do. You don't want them to take down your safe lane T1 and then just invade your jungle. And the longer that you can delay them, the better it's going to be for Shadowfiend and the Co-op, and the smaller window they're going to have to push your high ground and take Roche. So, I mean, they seem decently prepared for it last game, though. And this was with the Tusk, so I'm very surprised to see them go for it again.
It seems more like a... it seems like a mental play, honestly. Like they're just...
Toss suicide, yeah, that's a real threat. Banning out the Tiny.
And what else could they combo it with? Venge.
Magnus. Pudge.
Nice.
What else have we seen?
Venge swap in the
Triple
mines.
Force Staffs.
Well, definitely looks like EG has something.
And if you saw the camera shot a moment ago of aggressive, it seemed like the Techies pick, as far as frustrating the opponent, definitely worked. Like he looked like.
It looked like he like smelled a fart. He's just like, oh, God, not again.
It seemed like they had a little bit of a heated debate about, it could just be, all right, we did well last game, let's do the same thing again. This is no problem. This is what we're going to do. But from body language, maybe. He didn't seem like, yay, they picked Techies. That's what we wanted to bait them into with our draft.
That's why we got Tusk.
That's true. And generally, it doesn't sound like anyone's really ever going to be happy about playing against Techies, even if you know you can win. DK going to round it out for C-Deck. And EG.
This is a hero they can end the game with